one of the things you told me when we were doing our prep call was just how you document decisions. Can you talk about that? Because that to me I love that, actually. I think tactically this is something people can take from this episode.
Yeah. So we stumbled upon it. Let me tell you a story. So we were having meetings, and I read about Jeff Bezos with his 6-page memo in the meeting. So instead of using PowerPoint, somebody has to write. So we say we're going to do that because it sounds like a good idea. And obviously it seems to work for Bezos, right? So we started writing this doc. And because we were remote, the doc was online, right, in Google Doc. And so we said, look, if it's ready before the meeting, share it before the meeting. Oh, let's share it before the meeting, yeah. And people would comment on Google Doc because you can comment.
Right.
And by the time we'd get into the meeting, everything was there. Like people had already commented, give their ideas and all that. So that's how we stumbled upon that concept of a decision memo that's actually online and asynchronous. So because in the meeting there was nothing left to decide, it was clear what had come out, right?
So
we made it a process. We put a template. We said, okay, problem, data, evidencing the problem, consensus caller, and I'll talk in a minute what we mean by consensus caller, and then options, and then recommendations, and then decision. And every decision memo is follows this format. We stumbled upon something very critical in the process. The Internet Task Force had the problem of decision making where there's no
central
authority. Yeah. Exactly. So, and somebody came up with this idea of a rough consensus. It means that you don't vote. It's not an election. It's not authority. It's those who have more knowledge of the matter make a decision and try to build a consensus, but accept that some people may disagree as long as the concerns have been addressed. It's called a rough consensus. And so we go with that. We go with the decision memo. We say is a rough consensus emerging, and sometimes it happens that that is diverging. Like there are 5 options, and there's as many people as different views on that. And in that case, we say, okay, it means that we haven't analyzed the problem enough. So we go back. Sometimes we just shut down the decision memo, split it in parts, do another one. And go back and
so you use this decision memo for
everything.
A product
even in a small decision, people say, I think we should, like right now we're planning our next event, right? So we did our first annual conference. We want to do it next year. The location of the decision is which location we could go.
That micro, like the just the location,
even smaller, like drop down in the product.
That's exactly right. What we're going to call, we're launching an AI product, and we were going to call it, I can tell you, we're going to call it Insight. And the product manager said, I don't like Insight, but 2 of us did. And she said, I'm going to write a decision memo. And she did. It happened yesterday. The decision memo is this morning. She put the other options. Wow. People contributed, and we're going to change the name of it.
And you don't need to have a meeting for this.
No,
that's right.
No meetings. We barely have any meetings.
This beautiful thing, we have an automation where when the decision memo is we put it in a Google Sheet, it posts to Slack as a new decision memo. And every decision memo, well, we have 2 types. Most of them are company-wide, so it posts into the Slack channel. Everybody can see, decide, put their view. And some of them, we call them a micro decision memo. It's not that we hide anything. It's just that
it's not important enough.
That's right. We don't want the engineers think on what tool they're going to use. We don't need the whole company. So it posts, people contribute. Sometimes it's very important. I ask at the company meeting. We have a call every week. I ask, there's a very important decision memo. Pricing is a great one. Decision memo for pricing. So there's a lot of research ahead of time.
Yeah.
But once the research is done, we put it in a decision
memo. And literally
memo.
the whole company goes there.
The entire company goes and
comments and And is there a person's name there as the owner?
The consensus caller. If there's no consensus,
that's the person.
The person has to decide whether they can push the decision or not. It's fascinating because you assume that there's too much red tape to write all these micro decisions, etc. But it's super fast. Like I can write a decision memo myself in like 15 minutes. Because I got experience with it, and most people got experience with it, so we're fast at it. And everything historically, you understand like why did we decide on this thing?
That's the cool. That's the cool. That The history.
Yeah, because when we say, "What did we do that?" Say, "Well, let's go back
Yeah,
for a decision memo." And it's amazing. Were there a decision memo on that? And most of the time there was, and so we find it. We say, "This is why we did it," and then this is still applicable. What has changed that will make us change our mind?
I want to have an asterisk that it's amazing. So I feel a lot less stressful as a CEO because I'm not part of it's an organism that evolves, and I'm not part of every decision like normally a CEO would be in these kind of things. But there are there's still an imperfect system in that it's hard to contribute as a person to so many things because you're going to see so many decisions around you, and then you realize that there was a decision that was made that you weren't part of it. So that happens. And sometimes we have very strong voices pro and con a specific subject. And for the consensus caller, it's very important to make sure that all the voices are heard, that everybody understands what's weighing for different people. And sometimes there's an emotional resonance to it that's not visible in the documents. And that's when I think we can still improve on the physical presence of debating and making sure that everybody's heard around their emotional resonance around the decision.
There's another aspect to the decision memo. We really try hard to make the things as objective as possible and remove the power of the boss.